What up, good people? It's your man EG with the EG My Journey podcast. And here we are for one more episode. As we go forth, I'd like to say thank you guys for sticking in there and being a part of what we're doing here and the greatness that's coming out. I'm not saying that it's about me, but the content has been a blessing, not only to me, and I pray that it has been to you. So hold on right there, and we'll be right back after this. All right, good people. We got one more show to go. Well, we got many more to go, but this is just one more in the bank. One more that we have to do to get things popping and get it going. We missed last week, so we got a few things some time to catch up on. I miss you, and I hope that you missed me. All right? So hold on. We're about to go on a little ride. So you ask what the ride is. Okay, I didn't hear you ask anything. But the ride is just this. Today I'm going to be a little bit on my soapbox a bit. I have some things that are really near and dear to my heart that have been there for a little bit now, and I gave you my word that I'm gonna use my platform for community and the culture. And in that, in the community, I'll start with my community. I am here in the New Orleans metropolitan area. But the issues that I'd like to talk about are not just a New Orleans metro area situation. I personally live in Jefferson Parish. And there are some things in Jefferson Parish that, need to be done, but not just Jefferson, but in Orleans Parish. Those are the two that I'm going to primarily talk about on today. But of course, these same things will be, could be translated to your neck of the woods, wherever you are. But first, I'd like to send a big shout out to our sponsors for today, which is Drums Luxury Earwear. Drums sent me these amazing headsets. I know you thought that I had, what do you call that? Hearing aids in, but I don't. This is what's called an in-ear headset or headphones, right? Normally you'll see musicians with them and so on and so forth. But this company has a solution that is absolutely phenomenal. When I tell you phenomenal, it's Drums, Drumz, luxury earwear, right? There's also a pair just for you in the wireless apparatus. Now, if you can see, I can shake my head and move. I know I'm looking crazy, but I don't care. And they don't budge. Now, these are wired. These are wired because I'm doing a podcast, and I did not need the wireless solution, so they sent me a pair of the wired solutions. And I cannot speak enough on this. And here's the information right here. It's Drums, Drumz. That's Drums Luxury Earwear. And here's the website. You can go on and check them out. And if there's somewhere on there, if there's a comment, tell them I sent you. Yeah, tell them I sent you. Now, on to the business at hand. So you're wondering what my soapbox is about today. I'll tell you. It is about the state of our culture. And I'm not going to go too far into it. So what I have right now is just going to be a little piece. To me, it's probably the most important piece because it's what's on my brain at the moment. And I'm not one to bicker and or complain about anything. I won't do that if I don't have a thought of solution. So I think and or believe that I might have a piece of a solution to help us in what we do. How do we get that done? That part, I don't know. How do we make it happen? But I do have ideas. How do we make it happen? I think the way we make it happen is if we all do it. It's not a one-person job, nor is it a it should be on one facet of people. And when I say that, I don't mean it should be on the teachers. It should be on the government, our officials, or anything like that. I think it's all of us that we have to come to the table and be able to get things done. How do we do that? We have to be able to hear one another and be able to constructively speak to one another. So now I'll go into it. That's not a real word. Anyway, on last year, there was and I won't call names, guys. There was a particular school that had multiple murders of kids. And when I say kids, I mean, I think from 17 down to 14. You can, don't mark me for that one. I'm not really sure. But I know these were high school students. They were murdered this was last school year. Let me say that as well. And the murders were committed by other students in the same school. Now, it gets a little bit more complicated than that because I don't know if I want to say complicated or if I would say concentrated. Because the concentration comes from possibly, I think it's 4 different neighborhoods, which are all in a 3-mile radius from one another. If there's a concentration in my mind, and if there's a concentration of bad things and bad situations that are happening, I think it would be a tad bit easier. I'm not saying by any means that it's easy, but it'll be a tad bit easier to focus on those concentrated areas. Again, another disclaimer. I don't know exactly what this police department or sheriff's department is doing. I don't have that type of information. What I do know is that I don't see any resolve in the public. A lot of these murders were not publicized as far as news coverage. A lot of these things were not handled, in my eyes, properly in the actual school that it's happening. There were not enough resources to aid the young people, the kids, both in the school and or in the community, as well as those resources were not even afforded to the families. Again, I don't know the full depth of what it was or what it is. I can only speak on what I see. I'm pretty close to the community, close enough for me to be able to see if there was something happening. But yet again, I'm going off my personal experience. And this is something else I'd like to say. If you guys want to comment, please leave a comment here on YouTube. If you have some suggestions anywhere in here, and if you are listening on one of the other platforms, I'm sorry, then go ahead and send me a comment to egmyjourney@gmail.com. It's posted right here. That's egmyjourney@gmail.com. I welcome all comments, questions, concerns, and thoughts on how to get this done. And again, remember, this is coming directly from me. And what my brain sees, or what I see in my consciousness of my daily walk in the same community. So with that being said, I implore all of us to take a heavy look at what it is. And as we go, I'll do more investigation. As we go and we move, I'll be able to give you more information. So here's why I'm not pulling anybody to the carpet at the moment. I feel like if we bring someone to the carpet, we have to give them the opportunity to take care of the issues. Now, some of you might be saying we don't have time to wait on these politicians, the police departments, the schools, the school system, the school board, the council members. We don't have time to wait on them because our kids are dying. But what else can we do? I'll tell you this. What we can do is we need to start going to these board meetings. We need to start making our presence known. Not just at the board meetings, but at anything that's happening with our kids. We should be demanding, not just our kids, our community. And we should demand answers. Demand answers to the situation at hand. So some of you might be asking, what does this have to do with our journey? This my journey. Well, this is a part of all of our journey because our community, our culture is sick. Why do I say it's sick? Because instead of having a form of conflict resolution, our kids, our young people, and some adults, not just some, we are taking our situations, our social experiences, our social, that's a good word, our social experiences to a place of finality. We are making final decisions like death instead of resolving conflict. This is something that I grew up with. I grew up not on this side with the finality, but with the social experience. And this is one of the things that I think is wrong inside our communities. And this is where I'll speak of our kids. When we were young, when I was young, let me say that, we had a community or communal engagement that if you were out of line anywhere in the community, it was okay for that adult to tell you something. Don't try that today, people. Don't try to tell these kids anything about them being out of line. I was in a place when I grew up where I went to not only in school, in the community, and in the playgrounds where I was surrounded by multicultural, and if not multicultural people, it was I don't know, maybe neighborhood or something, because every neighborhood was different. It had its own culture. Every neighborhood had its own culture. It had its own mothers and fathers and children. And I grew up in a place called McDonoughville in Gretna, and it was we had beef with other kids from McDonoughville. I was from cross the track, it's kind of cross the track and back the track. We had a little beef with each other. Never enough for final decisions. Never. I think I remember maybe one fight, two fights. I know my little brother, I hate calling him little brother because we're basically the same age. He had a fight with, we were all playing ball. It was out front against back the track. We were playing football in the park, and he had a fight. And later on, this guy became one of our best friends. And that was Marlon Bordelon, my boy. I mean, my absolute brother. Yeah, we became the best of friends, man. And he and I talk to this day, but that's neither here nor there. Shout out to you, big brother. But I said that to say we had a position in conflict resolution, because if we would fight, we would come back and we would be friends, not another day, that day. A lot of times we get it over it and move on. I remember having one fight, I think, and it was one of my best friends, man, Bevan. God bless his soul. He's gone on right now. But I remember he and I having a fight in his yard. We were playing basketball, and I think I got the best of him. And then he wanted to fight, and we began to fight, and needless to say, it was what it was. I think I got the best of him, and I got really tired. I finished, and he came and got that one last little wallop on me. Yeah. And then he told me, now come on, let's get something to eat. And he grabbed me and he hugged me. We walked inside of his house. Today, I don't think we would have even fought. If we would have had the mentality of the kids today, we wouldn't have even fought. Somebody would have pulled out a gun and killed the other one. And that's sad. It's unfortunate. And I hate for this episode to be so somber, but I still feel like it's so important. I feel like that this is important enough to speak on. And I said before, I won't call anybody out until I get some definites. Not by name, but I'll call positions. All of you, I need. Not me, I'm sorry. We need. Our community needs you. Our culture needs you. It needs us. It needs us to stand up and be active participants in what's happening in front of us. It does. So what do I say that the account is to? I say the account is to this right here. When we were younger, we didn't have social media. Better yet, when I was young, I didn't have the internet. How about that? We didn't have the internet. And the other side of it is we didn't have video games. You know, I remember back in the day, you know, our punishment would be come inside and you can't go inside. I mean, you can't go outside. Today's punishment is get off that game and go outside. The kids are having a fit and they have no social understanding of how to deal with people. And that's why we're dealing with what we're dealing with. Not just that, but it's the type of information that's being loaded into their brains. They can have the same conversation with us adults. I'm 48. I'll tell my real age today. I ain't gonna lie today. I'll be 27 tomorrow. But they get the same information and they're getting too much information. And quite frankly, they are on information overload. There's certain things, no matter how much they think they could deal with it, how much they think that they can handle it, they cannot handle it. It's not for them. Their brains are not developed enough. Their brains are not developed enough. It's not just that, but it's also the type of games that they're playing. I mean, you're talking about Grand Theft Auto. I mean, just listen to the title. And that's what the game is about. If you've never heard of it, that's what the game is about. What is it? Some of these other games that are so gory, like Call of Duty. Now, don't get me wrong. I love it. That's probably my favorite game. But it is so much gore. And it's based on war. So you think about what the input is in their minds, in these young brains. And some of the games have sexually explicit content. But the biggest part to me is not that. It's when they put these headsets on, the conversations that they're having with one another is astronomical. Everybody's a keyboard or headset gangster. They can say whatever they want. They talk about people's parents, mothers, grandparents, their dead brothers. And I'm talking about they go hard. And here's why. Because they're talking to someone that's across the country that they'll never see and that they know that nothing's going to happen. Yeah. So there's no consequences. When we grew up, because we faced people, there were consequences to what we said. And in those consequences, we were held to that standard. So we were careful about what we said. You know, you didn't talk about Big John's mama because here it is, you 5'2" and Big John 6 foot in the fifth grade. You're not about to play with Big John. You're gonna think of another way to talk to him. You're gonna think about another way to deal with him. You know, instead, because you're not gonna put yourself in jeopardy. But you see, the same thing happens because these kids begin to believe their own their own hype about the world, because perception is what? Reality, right? And because perception is reality, they believe that what's in front of them as far as these gaming systems or these games is real. And it is not. I declare to you, it's not. And so they bring these things to real life. I mean, we have an epidemic of carjackings here. Grand Theft Auto. These kids will walk right up to you and try to steal your car. I mean, there was the lady a few years ago that the oldest kid, I think it was 15, 16, and 17. And the lady was decapitated because they stole her car and then they dragged her down the road. Why? And then that's just one case. We can look on, you can go on the internet right now and look up New Orleans and carjackings, and you're going to be able to see carjackings at these gas stations. Kids are walking up to you while you're pumping your gas, and that's just one manner in which it's happening. It's a scary world when I have to pump gas with my pistol in my hand, when I have to be concerned about going home to my family, but the other side of my concern is killing somebody's child. Yeah, and I'm concerned about killing somebody's kid. That's not a comfortable place to be in. It's not a comfortable place to be in at all. I think so. So there is some systems and some systems that need to be in place in order for us to take care of these kids. Here, look, check this out. This is what Pastor Everett had to say.
I would say that all of our systems have been disrupted, right? And when we talk about systems, we're not just talking about the government. We're not just talking about, our first responders and school systems. We're talking community systems. We're talking systems abroad, right?
Totality, right.
Nobody, number one, is holding anybody accountable. We are concerned about who's responsible, but not concerned about who's accountable, right? And so we are throwing rocks at people just because they did it, but we don't know where it come from. What are the traumatic experiences by which cause a person to operate in that function, or their psychosis, just using some words to help them understand where it is and where they are. So with those systems with no accountability, we used to have checkpoints, right? We used to have that if something happened in the African-American community, that the first people we're going to call is the NAACP.
Word up. Absolutely.
We don't even do that no more. The first thing we do is somebody think that they have some influence to just get in front of a camera and say they represent us. A lot of those type of dynamics as it relates to not vetting people who represent us. And this is what I wanted to say, like I had in my mind, that if we don't have the proper people who's translating the transitions, because people are more concerned about who's first, whether and who's right.
Systems can dramatically change where our kids are. It can dramatically change what we do and how we process. The other side of, I talked about the games and the internet. Okay, so what can we do for that? The internet, what we see is that overload of information, right? And you can definitely on all these apps, Instagram, Facebook, even though our kids don't really use Facebook a lot, but anyway, it's still a means of contact and a means of creation. TikTok, all these things are over sexualized, and there is so much information that is there that our kids are, again, they're on information overload. I don't know if I can say that enough. Information overload. It's a real thing. We get on information, adults overload. We get on information overload ourselves because it's so much. It is so much that's in front of us, and we have to learn how to deal. And we probably need to put ourselves in a place where we disconnect and only give ourselves so much time to be on, because it takes us to a different place as well. And can we sit there and monitor our kids? How do we do that? Well, we can try. We can say, hey, look, that's enough of that. But guess what's going to happen when they get to school, or when they get around other people, their peers, wherever they might be, they're going to get that information. Why? Because it's not based on the one, it's based on the many. It's based on all of our children. So what are some things that we can do? This is my question. This is the God's honest question. And again, I implore you to really shoot back at me and to give me some information on what you think. And we also have to look at the lack of, remember we talked about the social experience. Back in the day, we had, all of us, we went to the playground. Most of the people in my neighborhood, we were at the playground. We were at the park. We were playing some kind of sport, some kind of recreation. Recreation does not mean football, basketball, baseball, track, or whatever, volleyball, all by itself. That's not what it means by itself. It means an activity. It's extracurricular, an activity outside of school. That's what it is. So in the recreational departments, here's one of my solutions. Well, yeah, here's the solution that I have. A part of I have some other things, but this is the one that I want to highlight. In our recreational departments, why can't we add, or why don't we add, a gaming situation? How about instead of investing in just football helmets and basketballs, that we invest in some computers and gaming consoles? Most of our gyms have these, I guess you would call them classrooms, or these rooms in there. How about we utilize those rooms instead of having them as just equipment rooms or what have you, and we utilize some of these rooms for a gaming department? I can guarantee this. Here's what I can guarantee. All those kids that are sitting at home, that are in their rooms by themselves playing their games, I guarantee that we can double our playground activity. We can get these kids acclimated and out in the playground. And guess what gaming is? It's year round. It doesn't have a season. All these others have seasons. So what we do is we add something in for the kids, something that is productive and something that they're interested in, right? So you say, well, we want to feed into the game. There's nothing you can do about technology. Technology is here, and it ain't doing nothing, but it's going to get bigger and better. So how about we put technology situations in place for them? And while we're doing that, how about we teach them a bit more about social media, how to make money, how to actually be productive on social media instead of just looking at and or for the trash? How about being a content creator, which can build finances and money? It's a real career. Do you know that in gaming, there are people making millions of dollars? There are even more making 6 figures. There are even more than that making 5 figures. And when I talk about 5 figures, I'm not talking about $10,000. I'm talking about salaries. There are gaming situations where these kids play games, or these people, they're now grown-ups, young men and women. They go and they be a part of a house, just like you go to work every day. There's a house where all they do is game. And guess what? They absolutely love it. But we're so concerned about throwing our kids into college or into right into the workforce as we know it or knew it, that we miss out where they are. We got to meet them right there. We got to meet them where they are, not try to force them to be where we are. And mind you, folk, this is just my editorial. Excuse me, my nose is itching. I forget what that means. Somebody about to give me money? No, that's my hand. Somebody talking about, who talking about me? Who cares? I don't care. Anyway, I say we meet them where they are. Yeah, you put those things in there, and we open the gates. So who's going to pay for that? Instead of us paying for it, how about, like I said before, we go to these meetings, we go to these town halls, we go to these board meetings, and these are some things that we propose. Why? Because they get government funding, be it local government, statewide, or national. I don't know how that works, but I can tell you this: they get funding, and because they get funding, how about we put something that's going to be a bit more productive for our kids? How about we do some camps, some coding camps where we start to teach these kids how to code? How about we get someone like Dr. Calvin Mackey in, and we do STEM in the playground situation? Instead of having it in one consolidated area, we span across the entire playground situation. And I'm going to talk about JPRD and Nord, because those are the two that I said that I was going to talk about. Those are the areas, Jefferson Parish and Orleans Parish. And not just STEM, but STEAM. We inflect what they love. We give them what they love, what they want. You got STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. Makes the world go round. Then you got STEAM, or then you have STEAM, which science, technology, engineering, art, and math. I think we win the gambit. I don't think, first of all, I don't think the educational system puts enough information or enough time into the arts. And how about this? I don't know. This is just a This is just a thought of mine. What about music? Make our playground situations what we'd like to see. And if you do something like music, it's definitely a push to colleges and universities. Not saying that everybody who's involved will be there. And will it be a little bit harder? Yeah. Will there be more money? Absolutely. Everything we're talking about is going to be a little bit more money. But we're only talking about money because their lives are precious. We can't put a price on their lives or on your lives. Because remember, these kids are carjacking, and they're not jacking kids for cars. They're not pulling guns on other kids for their cars. They're pulling them on you. So how do we do it? I've given my few little thoughts, and these are just suggestions. I don't know if they'll all work. I don't know if it'll work. I haven't even stretched that out to even see. But it's something that, it's another form of, I guess you would say enlightenment. No, I guess you would say, but it's another form of activity for the kids. It's so much. We don't have to be consolidated in what we do. We don't have to do things the way we used to do it. We shouldn't do things the way we used to do it because we don't live in the same world. This is 2022. This isn't the 1970s, 80s, 90s, or the 2000s, which for those of us seems like yesterday. It's not. It's 2022. In 2000, these kids were not even born. In 2005, 4, a lot of these kids weren't born. 2005 is our seniors right now. That's crazy, huh? That's our high school seniors at the moment. So let's do a little bit more, guys. We have to do better. I call on right now all of you, parents, general adults, young people. When I say young people, I'm talking about young adults, even down to the children, the kids, the teenagers, and below. It's our job to bring up our own community because nobody else is going to do it for us. It's our job to take pride in our culture, and not just our culture, but pride in our presence. Um, what I have to say is that John Lewis said, "You are the light. Never let anyone, any person, or anything diminish or dim your light." And in my thought, if what can diminish our lives, our lights. So in my thought of mine, the thing that diminishes our light is when we do nothing. When we do absolutely nothing. Now, do I know that I'm asking you a lot? I do. I know a lot of us who say that, I'm just gonna pray about it and I'm gonna let the Lord handle it, because that's where most of us have been. We want God to take care of it. But that same Bible says that faith without works is dead. We have to put our hands to it, people. It's a must. We got to put our hands to it. We can no longer just pray about it. Can God do it? Without a doubt. Can he do it without me? Absolutely. He don't need you. But he desires you. And it's our duty, because this is the world that he's given us to take care of. And the further we get along, the more damage we do. And we're hurting it. Dick Gregory said this. He said, the only good thing about the good old days is that they're gone. And I concur. Those days were good, but they're gone now. Those were different days. So what day will we forge for tomorrow? What is it that we'll do that will enlighten or build the things around us for tomorrow? We wake up with two things every single day, and that's a chance and a choice. A chance to do better than we did yesterday, and the choice to do so. So what's yours? Well, people, that's my time. I told you I won't keep you long on today. But I just thank you so much for taking this time to listen. And we won't be so gloomy on the next show. I can promise you that. But I just needed to get that off my heart. It's your man EG, and like I say all the time, keep your deuces crooked. Peace.